Hello, Sinister Sippers. So this is my fourth time trying to record this because I keep messing up my words. But I do want to start off with an announcement. The podcast is now up on TikTok. It is under Sinister Sips Investigates with no dots. So go check that out. And my other announcement is that we now have a little microphone to use. So this will be the first episode with it, and I hope it turns out really well. And what I am drinking tonight is peppermint tea with warm lemonade and a little bit of water with local honey, of course. So let me know in the comments what you guys are drinking. And other than that, let's dive right in. Go ahead and pour yourself a cup of tea, something warm, something comforting, and settle in. Tonight we're stepping into one of the most haunting unsolved murders in American history. The case of Elizabeth Short, the woman the world would come to know as the Black Dahlia. In 1947, Los Angeles, Elizabeth Short was found brutally murdered. Her body posed in a way that shocked investigators and captivated the nation. The newspapers gave her a haunting nickname, and her death quickly became one of the most infamous mysteries in true crime. Decades later, the theories still swirl, from a suspected doctor, George Hodel, to mob connections and jealous lovers. But the truth? It's still hiding somewhere in the shadows. So tonight, let's step back into 1940s Los Angeles and uncover the chilling mysteries of the Black Dahlia. What I like to do with true crime episodes is I'm going to give you guys a backstory first. Since this is our first true crime episode, I'm going to explain some things as we go. Before the horror, there was a girl with dreams. Let's step into Elizabeth's world, and the night it all slipped into darkness. Elizabeth Short was born July 29th, 1924 in Boston. She moved around with her family as a teen, spent some time in Massachusetts and California. She aspired to be an actress and was in Southern California in late 1946, early 1947, trying to break into Hollywood. Now, Elizabeth Short was only 22 years old when she met her horrific end. She was found on the morning of January 15th, 1947, by a mom who was just taking her child for a walk when they come across the body in a vacant lot in the Lamert parking area of Los Angeles. The victim was naked and bisected at the waist. The body had been drained of blood, washed, and posed. Her face had cuts that produced a Glasgow-style smile. The lower half of the body was placed about a foot away from the upper half. Intestines were tucked beneath the buttocks. Medical examiners estimated she had been dead roughly 10 hours before the discovery. These grisly details made the case sensational. Sensational press coverage was immediate. The nickname, the Black Dahlia, a press invention linking Short to contemporary pop culture, helped fuel national obsession. The LAPD opened one of its largest investigations. LAPD and the Los Angeles County DA interviewed hundreds of people and developed roughly 150 plus leads or suspects over the months that followed. The crime generated multiple anonymous letters to the press and police that perpetrated to be from the killer. Some letters contained gruesome details and were treated as part of the evidence envelope. Despite intense effort, no one was ever charged with the murders. Elizabeth Short was seen by multiple people during the first 2 weeks of January 1947. One of the most important early leads involved Robert Red Manley, a salesman who spent one night with Short during a trip and reported leaving her at the Biltmore Hotel in Los Angeles on January 9th. Investigators considered him a person of interest and interviewed him extensively. Before clearing him, Manley remained a central figure because he was one of the last men known to have been with her. Behind every shadow lies a name. Let's whisper through the suspects who may have held the knife. First, we have Dr. George Hodel. George Hodel, a Los Angeles physician, was a person of strong suspicion to the police in 1950 and later became the focus of decades of investigations by his son, retired LAPD detective Steve Hodel. Proponents argue Hodel's medical training could explain the clean bisecting of the body, that he had social ties into Hollywood, that anonymous letters and behavioral evidence fit his modus operandi, and that wiretap recordings from a 1950 DA/LAPD bug of his home and handwriting comparisons suggest involvement. Steve Hodel has published books and amassed circumstantial evidence linking his father to the case and other crimes. Now, on the counter side, George Hodel was not hotel. Sorry, guys. It's been a long week. Was never arrested or charged for the Black Dahlia murder. Many law enforcement officials remain unconvinced that the evidence is definitive. DNA testing on available evidence has been limited or inconclusive in publicly record work. Still, newly released DA or LAPD files and Steve Hodel's work have kept George Hodel at the center of public debate. Now, this is a theory that I tend to lean towards, because if you go down this rabbit hole even further than we are tonight, there is theories that he done, we'll just call them basement abortions, and some theorize that Elizabeth Short went to him to have one done, and that is when he did the murder. Again, just a theory. My theory, little rabbit hole. Y'all should go down it and let me know if you want me to dive more into that, and I will do a second part episode further explaining that one. Next, we have Robert Red Manley. Manley was with Short a few days before her death, and thus was interviewed intensively. Some amateur researchers still consider him suspicious because he was one of the last confirmed men to see her alive. I mean, he was the one who dropped her off at the hotel. That seems kind of suspicious. Not gonna lie, that would deem me weird, that would hit me wrong. Manley's account and alibi were judged credible by investigators, and he was not charged. Many historians now consider him an unfortunate but likely innocent witness whose presence complicated the case. And that is stuff that we do see. He was just at the wrong place at the wrong time. Probably just trying to help Miss Short out. Just trying to give her a ride to somewhere safe. And he got roped into this investigation. So next, we have multiple murderers. We have names like Leslie Dillon and Mark Hansen. Some historians and authors outline a scenario where the murder involved more than one participant. Nightclub figures, employees, or associates Leslie Dillon, a man who corresponded with police and had a marginal but suspicious profile, and Mark Hansen, a Los Angeles nightclub owner rumored to have known Short. Because, if you're trying to get into acting, you're going to know the nightclub owners. This was the 40s, so comedy skits were starting to become a thing. People would sit out and tell them. You'd set up at a nightclub. You try to find your connections where you could find them. So they appear in alternate reconstructions that posit. I can't even read my own script tonight. That cause conspiracy or multiple actors. These theories are attempts to reconcile the body's posing, the letters, and possible motive or cover-ups. Now, on the counterpoint, these accounts are speculatives and rely on reconstructing social networks and circumstantial links. They haven't led to legal charges. Again, all of these are theories. But two murderers in this case could make sense. And not in the weird way. It would make sense that someone would have to help. Especially with the body being in two. You kind of need two people to move two halves of something. Just saying. Our next theory is organized crime or a random serial killer. Some researchers suggest Short's murder could be connected to mob activity, medical professionals, or a transient serial offender. In short, plenty of suspects fit the part of the case. Access to surgical skill, motive, or just simple opportunity. No conclusive linkage to organized crime or a single serial killer has been proven. The evidence remains a mosaic of possibilities. Whispers alone won't solve a crime, so let's lay out the evidence piece by chilling piece. DNA testing didn't exist in 1947, so investigators relied on fingerprints, handwriting, witness statements, and circumstantial links. The killer's apparent attempt to remove and wash blood created scene contamination and complicated timing. We do live in 2026. We do have access to all this now. But this was a long time ago. I mean, we're getting close to... I can't math like that, y'all. I'm just going to be honest. It's getting close to being almost a century. We'll just go with that answer. Because in my brain right now, math is not computing. Anonymous letters to newspapers and police included details and helped the case stay in the public imagination. But their provenance was uncertain, and some were hoaxes. Because, not to sound weird, some people just wanted their 15 minutes of fame. You send a letter, they think you're part of it. Oh, let's go investigate this guy. Or let's look into this side. Let's get the image off of one of our suspected killers. So their friend sends an anonymous message. Well, looks like Dr. Hodell's off the charges. We won't look into him anymore. Maybe it was this person. Over decades, evidence handling, lost files, and the passage of time reduced the potential for conclusive modern linkage. This happens all the time. More often than you guys would think. I mean, over time, stuff does deteriorate. Things get handled without the proper care. I mean, someone could have picked up a piece of evidence without gloves, and now their fingerprints are all over it. Stuff just simply getting lost. It's gotten moved to cold case files, and it's been put in a storage room for decades, and now it's just gone. Advocates for retesting, including Dr. Hodell's son Steve Hodell, have repeatedly called for DNA comparisons between known Hodell relatives and preserved evidence. Law enforcement has not made a public definitive DNA match. Now, they could still be struggling to get some DNA to match. It would just depend on how old the DNA they have is, how credible it is. There's a lot that can go into this case remaining cold for the rest of time. We may never know who killed Elizabeth Short. We may never know the person behind the Black Dahlia. Hopefully we will. It would be interesting to know who done it. But this is a case that could remain cold for the remainder of time. And so the fire dims, but the mystery burns on. Elizabeth Short's story ends in 1947, stuck at the age of 22. But her ghost lingers, etched in shadows, stitched into true crime history, and whispered every time we speak her name, the Black Dahlia. Now the ghost part, yeah, that's definitely true. There is a Ghost Adventures episode on her case. They went to Dr. Hodell's house. They visited the Biltmore Hotel. And they investigated both places. There is evidence of spirits in that one. It's a really good episode. You guys should go watch that one. And actually, what I was seeing tonight was Expedition Unknown. Josh Gates was doing an episode on the Black Dahlia. And I think it was his new episode. So that was kind of cool because that's one of my favorite shows. And it really shows that no matter what happens, no matter through the test of times, these cases stay relevant. These cases will continue to linger and haunt our minds. No matter what happens, no matter what difference has been made, there will always be the shadows that lurk, the dark deeps, the late nights. So, with all that being said, this is a shorter episode than I thought it would be. We are going to close it out for tonight. I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. Let me know what you think in the comments. And I will see you guys next week for Gabby Petito.